And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to JJ's PC Build. You know it is with you, JJ, once again. We're going to jump right into it and get started. I had a subscriber ask me about Intel motherboards and the 700 series and what they're going to look like. Well, today that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the 700 series motherboards and get a glimpse of what they look like and see if they got any low priced or high priced or in betweens. We'll do it all off of Amazon. So stick around and we're going to jump to the action screen. So stay tuned. Okay, now we made it to the action screen. Let's see what we can find on these 700 series motherboards. Well, they got an Intel combo right here. Looks like it's a 14700K with the LGA 1700 for 640 bucks. The Z790 Wi-Fi LGA 1700 from Asus for 228 bucks. We got a B760 Wi-Fi motherboard for 160 bucks, and we got here 220 bucks. We got 335 bucks. They got an MSI one here for 240. They got a Micro Center combo for 418. It's got a 12700KF. They got a B760 MP right here from MSI, a MSI Pro motherboard for 100 bucks. Looks like an ATX motherboard, which it is. So let's look into this one really quick and see what we can find out. Let's see what they give on the VRMs and everything else. 4800 megahertz, can get Windows 11. Let's see. It says it'll do supports DDR4 memory up to DDR4 4800. But I think it's only going to go up to 13th gen. So it could be a good motherboard, you know, if you wrap yourself around it and you want a 12th gen. So, but it says 12th, 13th, and 14th gen for 100 bucks. I just don't like it because the VRMs are not covered. So, you know, looking at that, you know, that kind of makes me move on. Make a lot of consumers move on. So, they got a B660 right here. Yeah. Got 32 gigabytes max. I don't think that would be kosher for anybody. If you're going to get a decent motherboard, I would get, you know, like you can get this right here for 170 bucks. Depending on your budget and everything else, I'm going to be honest with you. You know, if you want to go DDR5, then you can go DDR5 too. You know, this one's like 129, but it's a refurb. You know, so, but it'll still do 12th, 13th, and 14th gen. You know, I don't think the one gigabyte would really do you any justice. I would stay with the 2.5 or greater gigabyte for your internet connection capabilities. So they got a B85, which is not what you want. They got a DDR4 LGA 1700 motherboard right here from Gigabyte. It's a simple motherboard. It's an MATX motherboard, but, you know, it depends on what you want. I mean, they got right here a B760M, you know, combo with the 12600K, which is not bad. 12600K is not bad, you know. Or they got this one right here. If you get 14th gen on DDR4, a lot of people are saying you're leaving performance on the table when it comes to that. So you're best to stay with DDR5. But depends on what you want. I mean, you can always get a good motherboard that has great VRMs. Like this one right here, you got a combo with the 12700K and the Z690, you know. You got a 760 right here, 760, 760. 760 B760 VC. But unless you're going to spend a lot of money, to get, you pay for what you want, but you're gonna spend a little bit of cash to see what's cooking. So we'll just keep moving on and seeing what else we can find. They got a 610, but we're really looking into the 700 series. We're not really looking into the 610. They got a 760F. But really when it comes to Intel right now, with them having their power issues, this is why I was kind of hesitant of making this video today about the 700 series motherboards and what's cooking with Intel right now. You got this right here. You got this 760M. This looks like it might be a good deal. It's a B760M for 99 bucks. And memory storage, you should be able to put 192 gigabytes on it. And it's got a PCIe 5.0x16 slot, a PCIe 3.0x16, and an MKE for Wi-Fi. So it's got HDMI, it's got a display port. It looks like it's not a bad motherboard. If we want to look at it, I mean, if you look at it, it's not a bad motherboard at all. It's compacted, and the VRMs are covered. I think it'd be a decent motherboard if you want to upgrade to, what you want to upgrade to, like a Gen 5, PCIe Gen 5. It's DDR5. And you figure if you get 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM and you populate 2 spots, then later on down the road, you can also get another 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM and populate another 2 spots and populate all 4 spots and get 64 gigs of RAM in the future. So it does have a little bit of futuristic upgrades, and it'll support 12th, 13th, and 14th gen. And DDR5 at 7200 megahertz. Now, would this be a motherboard that I could say I would get? Yeah, it would be. It would be a motherboard I get, because, I mean, you have 3 different generation processors you can use in this, and then 3 different generations. You look at how many SKUs they got in each one of those generations. So yeah, for 100 bucks, it's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. So that's if you're looking for something like that. But it comes to the price point, you're going to spend a little bit for the price. You are going to spend a little bit. So this is a P7. This is a DDR4 motherboard for $449. Comes with the 14600, and that's really odd. I mean, for 450 bucks, you can get DDR4 RAM. You can get 64 gigs for 120 bucks, or probably you can get 128 gigabytes for cheaper. Who knows? So. Something to think about. I just don't like the 610. I don't like the 610s. The 610s don't really grab me. Let's see, what else? This right here, I'm not even going there with that. It's a B760. B motherboards I have never had a problem with. I'm on a B550 right now, but this gives me an idea when I go to look for a motherboard what it's going to be like, and price-wise and everything else. It gives me a good idea. Truthfully, depends on what you want to spend. Okay, checks and balances. You have choices. They have 700 series motherboards on DDR4. They have 700 series motherboards on DDR5. You have a choice to make if you want DDR4 or you want DDR5. They give you a choice. They even had combo pack of a DDR4 motherboard with the 14th gen processor on Amazon. I don't think that's too bad, but I'm sure the performance, if you bundle it all up and everything else, you probably won't get enough performance on the table for that 14th gen. So if you're going to do 14th gen, you're best off to do DDR5, because the 700 series motherboards, DDR5, the VRMs are going to be a little bit heavier, and that's what you really got to look at. You want at least a 12 to 14 phase VRM to handle that processor. If not, if you get something smaller like an 8-phase VRM on a motherboard, then you're looking at the motherboard overheating and stuff like that. So you want to keep it above between 12 and 14 phase or greater. So in actuality, I've only seen like maybe one good deal, that motherboard for 99 bucks that I was showing you guys. That would be good for probably a 14th gen processor, if you decided to go to 14th gen. But it's still good. You got 12th and 13th and 14th gen, and you got many SKUs. You know, you got from the 12100 to the 12900. You got from the 13100 to the 13900. You know, K SKUs, KS, KF. You know, you got, and 14100 all the way up to the 14900 KS. I mean, you got many different SKUs when it comes to 3 different generations. When it comes to Intel, let's say you love the 12900K, and you got that motherboard, and if it's DDR5, even better yet, because now you're pushing it up to the next gen when it comes to the DDR series, and you're going from DDR4 to DDR5. Stability, having a 12th gen processor on DDR5, it's kind of shaky, but you never know. You might get more performance out of a 12900K on DDR5, running at 6,000 megahertz, maybe. So, something to think about. Do your homework when it comes to building your ultimate PC. Me, I would take it piece by piece. I would look at all the performance charts when it comes to the CPU processors, which one would give me the best performance on the CPU processors, and then after that, go for the motherboard, see what kind of motherboard I can get with $100, you know. So if you got a $150 processor and you got a $100 motherboard, that's $254. And if you keep it on DDR4, then you're looking at another $120 for 64 gigs of RAM. And once you enable XMP on it, then, you know, it builds up. So basically, if you put in 360 AIO cooler with it, even if you wanted to get vicious and say you wanted to put a 7900 GRE with it, for the price point, you can still keep your whole PC below $1,000 and have it last the next 5 years. So you can get yourself at least the minimum of 5 years. Look at it this way. Look at how many people are still running NVIDIA 10 series GTX processors. GPU processors. The graphics card, there's a lot of people still running the 10 series, the 10700s. I hear a lot of people are still running. 1660 Supers, I still hear people are running the GTX 1660 Supers. You know, there's a lot of people still running RTX 20 series, like the 2080s, the 2080 Ti's and stuff like that. Some people moved up in the world and they went to the RX 3060 series. It's got 12 gigabytes of VRAM. Some people move, the new 7600 XT from AMD, the RX 7600 XT. It's got 16 gigabytes of VRAM. I hear people using those for gaming and all that. So it depends on what you want to buy. When it comes to Intel, it depends on what you want to buy. Intel's always been good and compatible with NVIDIA. As far as AMD, it's kind of a 50-50 thing, but they don't do too bad with AMD either. So in that boat, either with the discrete graphics card, you could either rock it either way, depending on what you want for your budget. So, and that's going to be my final conclusion of the Intel 700 series motherboards. You decide what you want to buy. It's up to you. Me, I kind of conservative buy, so when it comes to the motherboards, the processors, the RAM, the SSD drives, and all that to put together a PC, I try to keep it as low as I can, but not get the best bang for the buck without the high cost, and still get better performance. So keep your mind when you shop, but when you get ready to put your parts together, look at all the test benches that are on several amounts of sites and draw your conclusion of what would be the best to build a system for a low cost. There's many parts out there. The world is overwhelmed with PC parts. You have to decide at what price you're going to buy these parts at and what kind of system you're really going to want. If you're going to want a creator system and gaming all in one, then you're going to be spending a hefty price. If you just want a gaming system, you can get away cheap with a lot of good parts for cheap. If you want a middle down the road kind of system that can do a little creator work but give you great gaming, then you're going to pay that price. If you're going to go for a cheap system, they're usually around $600, and they don't come with graphics cards. Or you can do yourself the diligence and get yourself a mid-level PC that's going to game and give you creator, do great creator work and whatever you need to do. And that's at $1,000, between $1,000 and $1,500. Now, $1,500 and up, then you better expect that you have a better kind of system, depending on what you want to buy. Your cost is not in your motherboard or CPU. That's not where your main cost is. It's the graphics card. That's where your main cost is going to be, is the graphics card. Not unless you say, hey, I just want to do this to where I have integrated graphics, I don't need a graphics card, and I'm done. Well, then get yourself an AM5 motherboard that has great VRMs. Get yourself an 8700G. Get yourself 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM, high speed, 6,000 or 7,000 clocked out to, and call it a day. And get a good speed SSD as well, M.2 drive. At least be able to have your M.2 NVMe SSD have at least 7,000 reads on it, and at least between 5,000 and 7,000 writes. That way it doesn't overheat, and you don't need to spend the extra money, thinking you're going to get more speed out of it. I can tell you, I have a 7,000 reads and 5,000 writes. You think it really writes up to that? It doesn't really. My system doesn't write up to the 7,000 mark. I even tested that, and it still don't hit it. But it's all up to you what you want to buy, though. But anyway, now that I gave you guys a 20 or 25 minute small little tutorial on this, just to let you know, you can go Intel or AMD, but the Intel 700 series motherboards, they got one good one that I seen out of everything that's on Amazon that might be a potential motherboard for you that will work great with the 12th, 13th, or 14th gen processor. I've already did small look at. That's the only thing I've seen. I wouldn't consider it a top 5 motherboards that they have, but I consider it 1 out of 5 that I seen that was really good. So, but anyway, this is the end of the video, and if you made it this far, we do appreciate it. And also too, we appreciate it even more if you're subscribed. Helps us build and support the channel. And put a like on the video would be much appreciated as well. And don't forget to turn your notification bell on so you know when I post the next video. But anyway, until the next time in the next video, we will see you on the next one.